All right. I'm still gonna try to do the other video about old Offset getting shot in the buttocks. All right, but we got some serious news. We got old Trump here threatening to delete a whole civilization. See what he talking about at by 8 p.m. and it's 6:57 right now in America. Let's go.
Just hours remain until President Trump's 8 p.m. Eastern deadline for Iran to make a deal and reopen the Strait of Hormuz.
It's getting real.
This morning, the president issuing an alarming threat on social media, writing, "A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will."
Iran has been a horrible actor on the world stage for the better part of 50 years. And for them to be finally taken to task, I don't think a lot of people disagree with that. The problem is that the president's rhetoric makes it very difficult to discern what exactly the end game is.
Iran remains defiant, threatening to deprive the U.S. and its allies of the region's oil and gas for years if President Trump follows through with his vow to strike energy and civilian infrastructure. Some Iranians gathering on bridges and around power plants.
Nah, they ain't really showing. I'm gonna show another news clip. This ain't some. There were thousands. There was thousands out there. And they're circling nuclear plants, power plants, the water sources. So if they do strike those, they gonna hit all these people. They might speak on it. The other news clip, I got like 2 more news clips.
To form human chains.
See, that's one of them right there. See how quick that was? They ain't even show it that long. Thousands, y'all. I'm talking about the whole plant was surrounded.
The president's threat on social media coming after U.S. strikes overnight on military targets on Karg Island, Iran's main oil export terminal. An Iranian news agency reported little damage from the bombing. Ahead of the president's 8 p.m. Eastern deadline, Israel confirming it has already struck some bridges and railways in Iran. Prime Minister Netanyahu saying Iran was using the bridges and rails to transport weapons. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt reiterating that Iran has until 8 p.m. Eastern to, quote, meet the moment and make a deal. Leavitt saying only the president knows where things stand and what he will do. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
With the clock ticking for Iran to reach a deal with the U.S., President Trump issues his most threatening warning yet.
This one out.
Plus, an average citizen jumps into action after finding a police officer down. Now, a person is in custody.
And the fountain is flowing. The Point State Park fountain is running nearly a month ahead of schedule. The multi-million-dollar upgrade the park just underwent. First Tonight time is ticking for Iran. 8 o'clock tonight is President Trump's deadline for Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. If it doesn't, the president posted, a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. And tonight, Iranian leaders are urging all young people to form human chains around power plants amid Trump's threats to bomb the country's power plants and bridges. And now an Iranian envoy says Tehran will take immediate and proportionate action if Trump follows through on the threats.
Okay, good.
Thanks for joining us at 5. I'm Ken Rice.
And I'm Christine Sorensen. Natalie Brand joins us with some late-breaking developments from the White House.
Ken and Christine, this evening, Pakistan, which has been serving as a mediator, is calling for a 2-week ceasefire and asking President Trump to extend his deadline, saying progress is being made diplomatically.
Images out of Iran show people forming a human chain near power plants and bridges ahead of President Trump's Tuesday night deadline. In a new escalation of threats, Trump warned on social media that a whole civilization will die tonight, adding that he doesn't want that to happen, but it probably will.
The President of the United States is a man who recognizes leverage, that if the Iranians want to exact a certain amount of pain, the United States has the ability to exact much, much greater pain.
Vice President J.D. Vance, speaking from his trip to Hungary, said he hopes Iran makes the right decision and that there will be a lot of negotiation between now and the deadline.
Fundamentally, the ball is in the Iranians' court.
A spokesperson for Iran's government said messages are being exchanged, but that an agreement cannot be reached with insults.
On Capitol Hill, there's growing alarm and outrage over the president's latest threats, with Democratic lawmakers saying Congress must stop the war.
Congressman Jason Crow, a veteran, said on social media calling for the elimination of a civilization is a war crime, adding the military must only follow lawful orders. Republican Senator Ron Johnson said he hopes the president's words are just bluster.
I do not want to see us start blowing up civilian infrastructure. I do not want to see that. We are not at war with the Iranian people.
Israel says it's already carrying out strikes on Iranian railways and bridges that it says are used by the Revolutionary Guard. Overnight, the U.S. hit military targets on Karg Island, a key location for Iran's oil exports.
Major U.S. allies in the region, such as Qatar, have called for de-escalation and a resolution saying there are no winners in the continuation of this war. At the White House, Natalie Brand, KDKA News.
President Trump has set an 8 p.m. deadline, less than 2 hours from now, for the regime to reach a deal, warning of action if there is no agreement, and the consequences could be devastating.
Here in South Florida, members of the Iranian community are reacting strongly. Local 10's Lenny Supal is live in Tamarack with more. Lenny?
Nicole and Calvin, the world is waiting and watching as we get closer to that 8 p.m. deadline, especially members of South Florida's Iranian community. They are keeping a very careful eye on the developments, especially after the president shared these sharp words on social media, doubling down on his ultimatum to end the blockade of Gulf oil. Many calling this a very critical moment that's filled with lots of mixed emotions, including concerns, frustrations, and a bit of hope. I also spoke with a gentleman who is an activist in South Florida's Iranian community. He says tonight could be a turning point.
It's a real threat. President Trump is not joking, is not bluffing. He's a real man. He can, when he says something, he can do it. But
he's a real man.
As
you hear that?
Saw, when he says something, he do something else.
He's a real man.
The last time when he gave them the timeline, he extended the timeline.
He went on to say that his family in Iran is staying strong, but their concern over their safety grows deeper each day. Of course, we'll have more from him, and we'll continue to monitor this situation.
They got a timer on the bottom.
Live in Tamarack, Lenny Supal, Local 10 News.
Lenny.
All right, I got one more. Turn the lights on for this one. I thought I had to turn the lights on. All right, let's see what this one talking about.
President Trump is issuing new threats to Iran. In a post on Truth Social, the president says, quote, "A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will." The new warning comes hours ahead of Trump's deadline for Iran to reopen the critical Strait of Hormuz. The president is threatening to blow up the country's bridges and power plants if officials don't make a deal. Now the IRGC is issuing its own warning to Gulf countries, saying Iran will no longer show restraint in retaliation against attacks. ABC White House correspondent Karen Travers is here now with more. Karen, these are incredibly strong words from the president.
Strong words and a very alarming threat from the president in this social media post this morning, Andrew. He says a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. The president goes on to say, I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. Now, Andrew, he also suggested that there is an off-ramp that is still possible, writing, maybe something revolutionarily wonderful can happen. Who knows? We'll find out tonight. Yesterday, he set this 8 p.m. Eastern time deadline tonight for Iran to make a deal, reopen the Strait of Hormuz, or else he said the entire country could be demolished. He's threatening to go after the power plants there, to target all of the bridges. And yesterday, he made it very clear he wants to see a deal. And he was asked, does it have to be a deal? Is it reopening the strait or both? And he indicated it is both, but this is certainly an escalation in his threats. And notably, you have the president, his whole purpose of these strikes going back 5.5 weeks was to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon that could go and target another country. And now you have the president threatening to take out an entire civilization. There are so many questions today for the White House about this.
Either take them out or they take everybody else out.
And one of those questions, Karen, is experts are warning strikes on bridges and power plants could amount to war crimes. So how is the president responding to that accusation?
He was pushed yesterday in that press conference here at the White House about exactly that. And Andrew, he brushed off the questions. He was asked, are you concerned that these could constitute war crimes, going after power plants, targeting civilian infrastructure like bridges? And the president said, no, not at all. No, I'm not, to the point about being concerned. Now, of course, experts say that this could amount to that, but it is not something the president, at least publicly, is indicating he is using in his calculation. Our colleague Mary Bruce also asked him yesterday about these threats. And remember, weeks ago, during the protest in Iran, he promised help for the Iranian people. She asked him, though, with these threats of escalation, isn't this just punishing the Iranian people? Here's what he had to say.
Wouldn't that be punishing Iranians for the actions of the regime?
They would be willing and it's suffering. They would be willing to suffer that in order to have freedom.
The president does acknowledge it would be suffering for the Iranian people. He went on to say that they're saying, please keep bombing, that they want this to happen because this will take out the regime and bring about a new era in their country.
All right, Karen Travers, thank you.